top five offenses. I'm gonna list my top five, and we could go from there and debate and find out if y'all agree. Who's on your list? Who would you switch out? Offensively, we're gonna go five back to one. At five, 49ers. Number four, the Philadelphia Eagles. Three, the Detroit Lions. Two, the Houston Texans. And the Chiefs, I think, will have the number one offense going into next year. Man, remember, this is only the top five. Later in the season, when we get closer to the end, we'll probably do a full 10, and we could talk about it because there's some teams definitely that you could argue. The Bengals, for example, they are going to be a top 10 offense for sure. Will they get to the top five? We could always debate that, but that's my top five list there. Who y'all see that should be in that top five? Who should come out of that? Who's on y'all list in regards?
Well, starting at 5, right?
Whatever, wherever you want to go. If you think the Chiefs shouldn't be one, whatever.
I like the Texans to make that leap into the top 5. I think, another year of C.J. Stroud being in the NFL, adding another weapon in Stephon Diggs, they should get there for sure. I got Eagles number 4. I think they just basically ran it back and then added a 3-down back in Saquon. I mean, it all depends on how healthy he is and if he can stay healthy for the whole season. Because if he is, this could be like the top unit in the league, honestly. I mean, they didn't outlaw the tush push, so that's still a great way to score touchdowns in the league. Detroit Lions, of course, I think they haven't really done too much to add to this unit, but it was already great. Like coming off of this year, Jared Goff did his thing. St. Brown has a new deal. Jameson Williams coming back. I think he's going to play a bigger role this year now that Josh Reynolds left. Of course, you got Laporta too. 2, I'll put San Francisco. I just think that like this, same as like the Eagles, it's kind of a very strong unit. They haven't really gotten any better, didn't get worse. Like they kept the receivers. They didn't trade anybody. They added Ricky Pearsall from Florida. I think that's a really underrated draft choice that they made. I didn't think he was going first round, but I mean, if you like a guy, take him. That's the thing. So, and then McCaffrey. I mean, offensive player of the year, Brock Purdy. He's the point guard of that offense, so he's making plays. And I'm gonna go Ravens number 1. I think Ravens could honestly make that leap. They added Derrick Henry. This team is gonna make some moves. I mean, Lamar, he looked a lot better last year passing. This team has taken leaps. They've taken strides. They've added more weapons running the ball wise. Like this is a run first team, honestly. Like as good as Lamar is, as much as you want to say we want him to pass, like the team's built on the run. And it's hard to stop that. I think Derrick Henry still has a couple years left in the tank. And if you gave Lamar a guy who can change the game in the blink of an eye, like he's still got breakaway speed. So
Miles, did you leave the Chiefs out?
yeah, I mean, I think they're just outside the top 5. I mean, they're gonna be good, but I think the scheme changed a little bit. I don't know I mean, I know they want to go deeper with Worthy, but you got to see what happens with Rashee Rice. That could be a guy you lose for a lot longer than just 8 games. So,
yeah, I mean, I think
I got the Ravens on the outside looking in too, though. I probably had them anywhere between 6 to 8, just because Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Andrews. That's a nice 3 right there, but I still think they're gonna need another weapon when Lamar do got to pass. But Chris, who's in your top 5?
Yeah, I had a really similar list. I didn't put them in any particular order, but I can now. I had the Ravens at 5 due to all the reasons that Miles just alluded to, the addition of Derrick Henry. The Ravens are a team, when you look at them, right, they give teams problems every single year, despite kind of the lack of weapons that they said Lamar had. He always finds a way to get it done. And I think in the past, they've struggled to run the ball due to, the injury, or they haven't struggled to run the ball, but they had a running back system where they were interchanging a lot of guys, right? And most of that was due to injuries, but they've always been productive in the next guy stepping up. And I think with getting Derrick Henry, you have a stabilizing force there in the running back position. And, should he get hurt, it'll be the next guy up again, right? So I'm confident in kind of just their offensive game plan, just, seeing them play the Bengals twice a year and what they're able to do. They're extremely versatile. Obviously, they depend on Lamar Jackson a whole bunch, but yeah, that team's going to be good this year. Mark Andrews coming back fully healthy. Yeah, they lost OBJ, but, he didn't really produce a ton for them. And Isaiah Likely stepped up big time last year, as well as what's his name? Is Aguilar still there? Because he had a really good year with them last year, if he's still there. But at number 4, I had the Texans. The Texans, again, getting Stephon Diggs. Hopefully Tank Dell has some time to come back this year, coming off of the injury that he came off of. But CJ Stroud looked spectacular last year. Talk about a rookie that had, a great year coming into his own. He's someone that we should be talking about later in this podcast when we talk about rookies that have been great all time, because he's definitely up there. I had the Lions on the list, and then I had the Eagles in the number 1 spot. So I think Howie Roseman is probably one of the better GMs, probably if not the best GM in football right now with everything that he's done these past 2 years. The addition of Saquon Barkley was massive for them. You talk about landing a big name. Obviously, Greg has his opinions on that. Since they left Big Blue, he's a little salty, but he's undoubtedly going to be great for the Eagles. I think they are extremely versatile. I think getting Saquon in the mix, you don't have to rely so heavily on him, knowing that you have dominant forces on the outside and at the tight end position, right? You got Goddard, you got Smith, you got A.J. Brown. Like, this team is it's hard to kind of compare them to any other league in the team. I guess the comparison now would be you compare them to San Fran, right? All the weapons that Jalen Hurts now has, we've seen Brock Purdy have with San Fran, having Debo, having McCaffrey, having Kittle, and I'm drawing a blank on the other wide receiver's name, but it's that type of feel when you look at this Eagles offense. So I think they're going to be incredibly explosive. I think their defense is going to be a force, right? They had a great draft in terms of adding Quinyon Mitchell and other defensive players to their team that are only going to allow them to elevate and take a step up. So Eagles definitely in that number 1 spot for me this year, despite them struggling at times last year to move the ball down the stretch. You muted, Greg.
I don't think I heard any one of you guys bring up the Dolphins one time throughout this top 5 listings, which to me is crazy. Dolphins might have the number 1 spot, or certainly a top 3 spot for me, as I was thinking about this when you guys were talking. But I mean, Tyreek Hill, Odell, Devin Achane, one of the best offensive minds in football, Mike McDaniel. I don't know how they're not in the conversation. So I'd certainly
when I think about the best offenses, yeah, they're in the conversation, but I also try to think about it from a playoff perspective too. Who's going to make a deep playoff run? Who are we going to see more of down the stretch? And that's why the Dolphins weren't in my best off. Yeah, they're explosive. You can certainly put them in the top, but I think they're still a first round exit.
If they get home field in any round, they're probably gonna win that game. It's just don't send them to a cold place. Don't send to a cold place, and you should be all right. So I'll put them in there for sure. The Eagles, I'm not as high on as you guys are, and it's not because of their personnel. It's because of Jalen Hurts. And no one talks about it last year, but he didn't play that great. He regressed to the mean. He had 15 interceptions last year. He was a part of their problems, and no one really seems to talk about the fact that he was, which is interesting. I think people in Philly, Philadelphia fans were hip to this, and they were talking about this, and that was a part of the conversation. He was not the same player he was the year previous. The turnovers were up. So, I mean, look, we criticize everybody else when they don't play great. I think it's only fair that we do that in this case. I know Miles is Jalen Hurts is near and dear to Miles' heart. So whenever I start speaking about Jalen Hurts, it's a sensitive topic. But he didn't play great last year. And I think that he has to prove that defenses don't have his number, and that defenses haven't adjusted to what he likes to do, because there is some of that to this. But again, And also last year, I don't know what the excuse would have been because the offensive line was all time great. The running game was great. The offensive line was great last year. I mean, I don't know if maybe they had some holes. Maybe look. I've seen no offensive line problems. I don't want to hear Eagles fans complaining about offensive line. I don't want to hear it. I'm not here for that. He had at the very least an above average offensive line, and Lord knows they ran block like hell. They did a great job run blocking for Swift, making Swift look like prime Barry Sanders with some of those numbers he's putting up week to week. So I really don't want to hear that. There's no reason why he should have struggled the way he did. And I know we talk about the OC and everything, and I know play calling, we can blame it on play calling, all that stuff, but he's got to go out there and execute too. I don't get those. A lot of other quarterbacks don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to play calling and OC stuff. I'm just letting you know. And I don't know that Jalen Hurts has the cachet to get away with that excuse when we don't give a lot of these other guys. But he doesn't. When we have a lot of these other guys out here who don't get that excuse. I'm just saying, and guys who have done more than him in the league. So that is my only drawback on the Eagles. And I'm not saying they're not a top 5 offense. On paper they are, but let's see them go out there and do it first. Saquon has a long injury history. Hopefully he stays healthy. Real talk. That's just really what it is. And I know, Chris said I'm salty. Chris Saquon left. I didn't want him back. So I didn't want him back. I'm not. To be a Giants fan, I want Saquon back.
Ain't that what the ex that got broken up would always say?
No, I really didn't want him back though. Like I don't want. Well, I don't know what you're talking. I know what you're talking about, but no, I didn't want him back.
You sound like a typical.
I'm on this podcast. It's documented of me when it was up for discussion. I said I don't want him to come back. I said that before he left. He went to the Eagles. That is what it is. He all he did was really cement himself as someone the Giants fans will never care about again. Which that's sad. I feel bad in that regard. But I don't have any bad feelings about him going there. Him leaving, it's fine. I didn't want him to come back. So yeah, I go Texans, Dolphins, Bengals, Chiefs, and then I'd probably round it out. With the. I'm thinking in real time. I think it's a lot closer than y'all give it credit for. Is what I'm saying. Probably the Ravens. In my fifth spot. I think the Lions could easily get the fifth spot too, but I go Ravens. I think the Ravens with the running game and Henry and Mark Andrews, and I know they lost Odell and they Isaiah Flowers and Bateman and them dudes. They're gonna put up points. They're gonna be explosive. They'll put up points defensively, offensively. They're gonna hurt you a lot of different ways. But I think that Lamar will have another great year with a guy like Derrick Henry to share the backfield with and run the read option with. So yeah, I go with those 5 teams. But the Dolphins got to be in there to me because they're explosive. Those guys, they were hanging 30 points on. They hung up 70 points on the Broncos last year. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. The Dolphins are in this conversation. They're probably number 1. If the Chiefs don't get it rolling. The Dolphins deserve a lot of credit with Mike McDaniel.